Coming back at you, we're going to talk about some knots, when we use them, and what kind of string we use those type of knots on. I typically only use two kinds of knots. It's real simple for me. If I'm using braid from Gamakatsu, or not Gamakatsu, but Gamma and Seaguar, I only use one knot. That's a Palomar knot. If I'm using Maximus monofilament line here, I will once again use a Palomar knot. But when I'm using the Seaguar or any other fluorocarbon from Gamma, I'm always using a jam knot or a cinch knot or any other kind of uni knot that jams into itself. And those knots have never failed me on either one of those applications, whether it's the jam knot, whether it's the Palomar knot. At the end of the day, I have a lot of confidence in those two. I only need to know how to tie those two knots, and so far they've held up strong. And to me, they're real simple. We're going to go over how to tie each one of them right now, and we'll get you all set up. Tie a Palomar knot. So as you can see, we have the eyelet right there, and you're just going to pull you off some braid or some monofilament, and you're going to run it through the eye. In the efforts of running it through the eye, I pull out a significant, good foot of extra string, just for the simple fact of it helps with the looping and bypass here. So we're going to show that here in just a second. But what I do is I take this extra string and I just run it right back through the eye of the hook, or in this case, eye of the jig. And now I've got a piece of tag along with my main line here and tag line here, and I've got a loop that I created by running it through the eye twice in opposite directions. I take that, pick it all up, cross over my finger, and run it right through that loop that I just created. And then I still have this loop that I created initially, and then I pick up the bait, the hook, whatever, and just drop it through there. In the efforts of it dropping through, you now have every piece of string in one hand. And all you gotta do is pull. Simple as that. Some people prefer to wet it down on braid. I personally don't care about doing such, but that's all there is to it. You have a nice, strong, very strong knot, and you have a piece of tag there. Break out your scissors and cut off that tag, and there you have it. That's Palomar knot. It'll work for braid, it'll work on monofilament. It is a very strong, very durable knot. Next, we're going to show the jam knot. And I literally started off the same way with the eye open, and I run this fluorocarbon through there, and I get a good pull of extra line here. 2.5 feet. That might be a little much, but then you got to run it back through. But I want plenty is the point. And as I pull it back through, I've now created the same start as he did the Palomar knot. I want to come up, bring both lines up, and then instead of going and creating through there, what you do is you take that loop and you wrap it around that line about 5 or 6 times. And then what that leaves you is still this tag in with this loop that you just created here while you were pinching down on it. And you take your loop and you shove it right through that circle and then grab it. And then you can see it start twisting and jamming up right here. Here's where some people will wet this. And if this was a bait that I was going to go fishing with right now, absolutely I would. All the while, I've still got this pieces of string and tag here in my left hand. I've never letting it go. So now you can see there's 2 pieces of string in that eyelet going in and coming out which gives you, to me, the double the line strength. And then all you gotta do is jam it up. You'll know if your knot is stacked right because you can see it stacking right there on top of itself as you made those twists around. And that's how you jam it. And then what you do is cinch that up, and then I just put a middle finger in here and I grab it and lock it down. That knot has never failed me. What that leaves you is a main line, a loop, and a tag line. And then you just take your fancy scissors here once again, cut it, and you have a nice stacked jam knot that again has never failed me fishing this with fluorocarbon. All right, so we went over 3 different kinds of string. Fluorocarbon, which I use 80% if not more. Typically using 10 pounds. Sometimes I'll bump up to 12 pound for all my finesse rigging. Finesse rigging for me is wacky worming, shaky heading, even throwing a Cinco. Those are all on 10-pound test, and sometimes 12. I'll generally jump up to a 15-pound test for my chatterbaits and all of my Texas rigs, flipping around boat docks and dragging a Texas rig worm, you know, on the bottom. So it's rare, unless I know I'm going into some kind of muddy water scenarios, that I'll jump up to a 20 pound. It's just too doggone stiff. And it does get a little memory in it when you get into that kind of heavy of a line. But again, 15 pounds never failed me, especially this here in BizX from Seaguar. I just love this stuff. I get no sponsorship from them, no money from them. It's just a product I've been using for a while, and if that's not available for whatever reason, I go to the Gamma fluorocarbon. And I buy these on eBay. I found a couple of good buys on eBay where I can get it. Sometimes if I hit the market just right on the eBay, I can get a 1,000-yard spool for 50 bucks. And for me, that's a doggone good price. So that's where I go with purchasing fluorocarbon. The braid, typical stick with Seaguar, and once again, Gamma, depending on what's available at the time I think I need it. This stuff lasts forever, and you know, that's what I use. And then Maxima for a monofilament. There is other good monofilaments out there, but the Maxima Green is what I like to use most of the time. I put this on a Carolina rig and my rod for chugger style baits like a Yellow Magic or a Pop-R. And again, this stuff is pretty durable and hasn't never let me down. So hope that little demonstration helps you, shows you how to tie the knots. And again, if you got questions, feel free to leave a question in the comments. Appreciate any of y'all responses, and thanks for you guys watching. Y'all have a good day.